Thanks for being here, everybody. Just really quickly before Sarah Jean does her presentation, I just wanted to give a shout out to our lunch sponsor. Paul Beekman couldn't be here, but it's Home Trust Bank. We're so appreciative of them, always sponsoring them. And, you know, Paul did mention that he saw rates coming down to the mid-60s, and so that's exciting. I'll leave follow with him for more information. I will be on that. But yeah, thank you to Home Trust for allowing me to do this. And with all that said, Sarah Jean Smith here to talk about schools. I'm really excited about this. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon now. It's like 2 minutes into the afternoon. So glad y'all could be here. Thank you for coming. We're going to talk about the educational landscape of schools in Buncombe County, Asheville City, and a little bit of even just Western North Carolina in general. That's me. I'm Sarah Jean Smith. I'm a school consultant. I work for the New Teacher Center. It's a national nonprofit. We work to advance educational equity in public schools around our country. And I was a principal here in Buncombe County at the Franklin School of Innovation. I was a high school principal for 5 years. I was also principal at a therapeutic boarding school in Montford for boys. It was an interesting year. And I was also a teacher at Irwin High School for 5 years. And many other things. But that's what's really relevant to right now. We're going to start off with a connector. We believe that as a learning community, it's good for y'all to connect with each other. You're all here for a similar reason or a similar purpose to learn about schools and education. So we'll start with all the genius at your table. I have a few questions for you to discuss with each other between bites of tacos. So think way back to your childhood, your formative years growing up. What did it look like with your family to choose your school? How did your family figure out where you were going to go to school? And how did that affect where you lived? How did that affect where you moved? And a bigger even question, how did that shape your view of education in general? You're going to have some time to turn and talk. Anything that's really like coming up for you here, you're just going to talk at your table. Take a few minutes just to introduce yourself if you haven't already. And then what was it like for you as a kid as your parents figured out where you went to school and what that was like for you? All right, talk amongst yourselves. All right, let's come back together, class. Alright, thank you. I love when it takes a while. It means you have a lot to say to each other. That's beautiful. So, to you thinking about that decision that families are making and what a big deal it is for families, for kids, how formative it is for your life. So, our learning for today, I'd love this session to be kind of focused on your needs and your curiosities, what you need to get out of this. I'm here for you. As an educator, I like to start with kind of a guiding question or a learning objective. Our guiding question is really around how much choice is there in the Asheville educational landscape. And what does that really look like for families that are moving here or moving around within the county? So I think a lot of people think, oh, I need to live here because I want my kids to go to a specific school. But the way schools and educational landscape is changing, it doesn't really limit where you live as much anymore. So we're going to learn about that change and what families can look at as far as choice for their family, different options. And some families have kids with special needs that need a special kind of school. And so we'll look at what that could really be like for them as they look for a house. Great. Here's our agenda for today. Hopefully we get through all of it. We're going to reflect on education's place. Check. Look at that one. And then we're going to talk about the educational landscape of Asheville. We're going to look at traditional and public schools. We're going to look at charter and independent schools. Independent schools is another name for private schools, as you know. We're going to talk about families that might have some special needs. And then we're going to look at the intersection of real estate and schooling, math, resources, all those things. As we're getting through this, if I'm going too fast, I think, I come from a place of like, this has been my life for 25 years. They're like, whoa, slow down. What's a charter school? That's totally great. I want to hear from you, ask lots of questions, interacting, we're in this nice, intimate space. So let me know what you need. All right, let's start with public schools. And it's really fun to look at maps. So this is Buncombe County Schools. It is separated into a region that is represented by its high school. So as you can see, you have North Buncombe, is that big yellow space. We're going to go this way, counterclockwise. You have Irwin, Enka, Robertson, Reynolds, and Owen. There are 2 Buncombe County high schools, Nesbitt Academy and Early College, that are not one of those key schools that you're probably used to hearing about. And of course, all those schools have their feeder schools. Like Irwin has Irwin Middle, that has Johnson Elementary, so they have schools that lead into those. You also have this DARA. It's a discretionary release application. So if you're living in Irwin and you don't want to go to Irwin High School for a significant reason, you can fill out paperwork as a family and you can apply to go to a different high school. The kid can't have a bunch of disciplinary things on his record. They have to release him and then he can go to a different high school and there's a nominal fee. It's not huge. It's not a tuition. So if a family moves to the Irwin district, they don't like Irwin High School, they want to go through that process, they really want to go to Reynolds, and the family's willing to drive across town, they can ride the bus, it's not going to come out to Irwin. There are ways around being in that district and going to that school for that district. Now Nesbitt's pretty cool. Has anyone heard of Nesbitt? The Nesbitt's like a magnet high school that focuses on STEAM or STEM. So it's more of like a science, technology, engineering kind of school. And it's located right behind Buncombe County's central office off of Patton. And then Early College, there are schools, and all of these do this now, where you can get a lot of college credit while in high school. So you get free college credit. If you want to do courses through AD Tech, juniors that have over a 2.8 GPA can sign up for free courses through AD Tech now at any public high school. So that's fun. I know a lot of kids are in a huge rush to get through all their college credits. See what you know about that. Any questions on our Buncombe County Public Schools? Yeah.
Enrollment at Nesbitt Academy.
It's small. It's only 100 per grade level max. And so it's a application process. Pretty hard to get. Yeah. I know I love our son's only 4.5. I would love for him to go there one day, but not holding out for that because it's a small program and it's pretty selective.
What about the DARA thing? What kind of reasons do you have to have?
Yeah, there can be all kinds of reasons. Like I've heard of kids that just felt like they were being bullied at their school and they wanted to go to a different school. I heard of kids that wanted to play a sport that wasn't offered at their school, or they wanted theater and there wasn't theater at their school. So it just has a legitimate reason. I think it can't be like, I really don't like our school lunch, but like, I don't think there are many that they just aren't go.
Would it be feasible to do that if you lived in a certain district you were zoned for, but you worked in a different one? So if you were, okay.
Yeah, I want to drop my kid off and I work over there.
Yeah. I can see that being common.
What's that stand for?
Discretionary, some other A release application. I can click on it. I put a link for that reason. Let's see. Administrative. There it is. I think it's administrative because the principal has to agree.
that the kid can leave his school or her school and go to a different one. This might screw up the whole thing, so just let's see how this goes.
Is there a specific online only
Yeah.
high school?
Yes.
What is that?
There is the Buncombe County Virtual Academy.
Okay.
It's pretty small, but it's growing.
Hmm.
And you have to have a legitimate reason as well. It's like a lot of kids, there's kids with health issues that go to the online academy. There's kids that like, they're actors or actresses or athletes and they have a lot going on, so they go to online. And then North Carolina Virtual Public Schools, it's a statewide public school online as well. And it's 9 through 12 for that high school.
Both of those are 9 to 12?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Virtual always on the K-5.
Oh, yeah, sorry, the statewide one does too, right?
Yeah, I don't know about the same one.
Yeah, I think the state one does too now. Yeah, so you can do all virtual. After COVID, it took off, which is interesting.
Wonder if there's
Um,
a question, is there a certain window they have to enroll in, is it like a certain time before the
Yeah.
school year or something like that?
yeah, February 1st to June 13th.
The Catholic ones, too, right?
Yeah, well, they cap if too many kids are leaving one school. Yeah. Can't like all the kids at Irwin can't be like, let's all go to Reynolds next year. Yeah. Great questions.
You have to have residency here.
In Buncombe County. Yes.
Just thinking about moving to it,
Oh, good question. Out of county tuition payers need to contact that person. So you could be out of county as well and pay tuition to come into county. So yeah. So discretionary admission release application. Oh, great. Still there.
Is there a way to keep coaches from coaching players?
Ooh.
Specific question.
It's just seems like it's not right.
Yeah. You're like, here's the form, come play here.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if that's been an issue.
It's not that that's all.
I think they catch on to that. Yeah. So the first step of that, and that's why it's called the release application, is because your principal has to release you. So if you're the star quarterback, I don't think you're getting released. Feels weird.
The way they do it is instead they just go live with a different family member in a different district.
Yeah.
They don't, but that's what they say.
Yeah. Yes.
There's some great recruiting programs.
All right, high school sports. So every part of Buncombe County, every district within Buncombe County now has a Spanish language dual language program. So it's just Spanish. So you can't go and be like, I want to do the French one. Spanish language starting in kindergarten, and it's teachers mostly from other countries that are native Spanish speakers, and they're at all of these schools. And they expanded it to intermediate and middle now. Before it was K through 5, and then kids got pretty fluent, and then 5th grade, they were done and they had to go to Spanish 1 and 6th grade, and they're like, what is this? But now anywhere you live has a dual language immersion program, which is great. And it's this little cohort of kids, so hypothetically your kid starts one of these programs in kindergarten, they kind of stay with that little cohort all the way through 5th grade for better or for worse. And then they all learn Spanish together, and then they can go to middle school and do it as well. So that's fun. And then that's like an application. That's an application. And you can apply. So I applied to 3 of them, for example, for kindergarten, just to see. You have a much better chance of getting into the one that's zoned for your actual district.
So if you didn't get in your district,
You might
would
get
you have to
into
do
like,
would you have to do the DARA, or how does that?
no, you just, all of these work like a charter school application. So they all have lotteries.
Okay.
So like we live in the Estes district. And then in the Estes district, the Glen Arden is the Spanish immersion program in Estes. So I did that application first, and they said, because we live in that district, we have precedence, like we get priority over other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that's too full, I also applied to like, oh, please, Raisins Creek, and just to see which one we would get into.
Sure.
Yeah. The vice principal at Raisins Creek is also amazing, so they're pointing out. Asheville City Schools. So Asheville City Schools, this is the map for who goes to Asheville City Schools. There's only one high school, one middle school, and then the feeder programs for the elementary schools. Something really cool about Asheville City Schools programs is every elementary school is a magnet school, and you can apply to go to any of them. One is just for the arts, kids that are really interested in arts, like theater and, all the arts. One is just focused on global issues, there's experiential learning, ecology, and STEAM. So you can go on, I'll just show you, on the Asheville City Schools website, and parents can pick an elementary school in Asheville City Schools that really speaks to what their kid loves, which is fun. Also, there's SILSA, the School of Inquiry and Science and Life Sciences at Asheville, which also works like Nesbit kind of. It's an application process. It's pretty hard to get into. It's in Asheville High. And then there's also Peak Academy, which is a elementary school, K-5 right now, that's growing. And it is the whole intention of that charter school within Asheville City Schools is to close the racial achievement gap or racial opportunity gap for students. So, yeah, Asheville City Schools.
What's the name of that?
Peak, P-E-A-K, Peak Academy. It's pretty amazing. It's in West Asheville, kind of across the street from Rainbow Community School. Yeah, it's newish. Last year was its first year.
And it's K-5.
It's K-5. Yeah. And within Asheville City Schools, there was a charter Montford Star Academy, but that's being combined with Asheville Middle now. As of next year, it is no more, unfortunately.
If you're county, can you do three?
If you're a county, you can apply to one of the magnet schools for elementary school, but you won't get priority. You can do it. Yeah, totally. Great question. All right. So we have a lot of charter schools in our area. Charter schools are still public schools. They have to apply to the North Carolina Department of Education and get a charter. They have to prove that they're working. They have to renew their charter either 5 or 8 years, every 5 or 8 years. So they're still public schools. They actually don't get as much money as public schools. They don't get money for buses or lunch or after-school programs. There's a lot of things they don't get money for. So you'll see fundraisers going on for charter schools all the time. And all of the charter schools kind of focus on something different. They all have their special thing. For example, Fernley, FSI, and Evergreen are all based on experiential learning, outdoor learning. There's like a project component to it where kids do big expeditions. They have student-led conferences. They really push the kids to be independent learners. Then you have IC Imagine, which is K through 12, all in one building. And they're focused on very rigorous curriculum. And they're focused on having something special for each grade level as far as like trips and experiences and like that growing into 12th grade experience. Art Space, obviously, is for kids that love art. Mountain City Public Montessori is a new one. It's K-8, it's K-6 right now, and they're going to grow every year. They're right downtown. Montessori is a beautiful form of education where kids are taught to be independent thinkers and to like really push themselves to be leaders of their own learning.
How long has that one been open?
A year. So as you can see, stories are popping up all over the place all the time. Mm-hmm. So FSI, the Franklin School of Innovation. So it is 5th through 12th, and it's off Starks Road, like in West Asheville.
What is one that is girls only?
French Broad Academy.
Is that okay?
So they have Hanger Hall. Yeah, I think those are private. So all of these don't have any tuition, which is cool. I don't think any of them are separated by gender. Yeah.
Do they all require parents to have some volunteer involvement kind of thing?
Good question. No, they don't all require. Evergreen does. FSI, we did not.
Art
Yeah.
Space, they ask you to, but they're not like,
You don't get kicked out of
yeah, checking the boxes super. Most people do.
Art.
I think isn't IC Imagine year round too?
Oh yeah, I see. Imagine it's year round.
Are there any other ones?
It's year round
Ish.
light.
Right,
Yeah.
like they have
It's the only one
grades
that's doing
that
year
are,
round.
like,
So I see Imagine used to be, it's Invest Collegiate Imagine. They used to be part of a bigger network, Invest Collegiate, which was totally year round, which was 6 weeks on, 4 weeks off or something like that. But they went to like year round lights. It's really hard on parents to have your kids at school for 4 weeks at a time all of a sudden. So now they're off from Thanksgiving to like January 20th, and then they're off for like a big chunk in the summer. Yeah, like, you're home, hey.
I
Yeah.
mean, you're home from all the schools at some point, right?
Yeah.
But they don't have somewhere, so that's everything.
Yeah. Fantastic question. Yes, so there's state accountability, so they would like come and do audits every 5 years and have to show them like, here's our teachers that are certified, here's our kids testing. So there's a whole audit process for charter schools, just like with public schools.
And to be clear, the kids take the same standards.
Yeah, kids take the same standardized tests and everything.
And their scores are historically.
And it's a mix. It depends on which one. So something that happens with a lot of charter schools, and this is kind of an excuse and kind of not, is that kids that weren't thriving in other schools and they're having a really hard time in traditional public schools go to those charter schools. And sometimes they do awesome. Like Peak Academy right now, every single one of their scholars has made gains, and most of those kids were just like plummeting at their traditional schools. They have amazing scores this year already. So it's a mix, you know?
I mean, I say that only because I got students, I won't say from where, in ninth grade, and mom was like, well, it was a school that they didn't do a lot of writing. And I was like, that's fine, you know, and she's like, no, I couldn't read his handwriting. He had not written.
Oh, they were on the computer the whole time.
Yeah, he'd done for 2 years. So he could
They couldn't
literally,
handwrite.
you know.
And like, it's actually with a lot of kids right now, like handwriting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there any schools that focus on diversity?
Yeah. So EL education, which is FSI and Evergreen, since 2020, their big push is equity and diversity. And so and their thing is diversity is the beginning of it. If you don't have equity, including and belonging, then you can have a big mix of kids and they're not going to feel like they belong there. So it's not just diversity, it's all of the other things.
Sure.
And so that's woven into everything for those schools. I will say, and not to get too far on this tangent, but you have to have buses and free lunch if you want to actually be an equitable school. You just have to.
Yeah.
And so FSI added buses, they added a lunch program, which is great. Evergreen's still working on it. A lot of these schools have one bus.
Right. What about the public schools, the county schools?
Yeah, the county school is huge push for diversity. They're doing all kinds of work with it. And Asheville City Schools Foundation is doing really amazing work with racial equity. Well, yeah, Asheville City Schools Foundation is awesome. So families might ask you, okay, these look great. How the heck do I get into one of these? Great question. Step one, let people know that enrollment is open to everyone. It's free and open to the public. Everyone can apply. Doesn't hurt just to apply. And a lot of people just apply to all of them, just in case. Just 8. And then the lotteries open up in January, usually around January 1st. And then you have a few months till you hear anything. So you go online, and now they have this Lotteries application website, and you can just put them all in there. And so it's thank you for, I forgot Francine Delaney. Thank you for applying to Francine Delaney. Thank you for applying to ICI. And so then you get on this big list of people, and they're going to have a drawing. They used to literally put it in a thing and draw names out of a hat, and now it's all on a computer. So you start hearing, I thought it was mid-April. We actually heard last week about Fernley. So mid-March to mid-April, you start hearing. You'll get a message back. Thank you for applying. You are number 89 on the wait list at Fernley.
Does it have anything to do with when you
No, and most people, everyone's on January 1st. It's not Ticketmaster. It's the whole thing, whatever. Yeah.
If there's a sibling at the school, is it?
Yes, yes. And now most of those schools, to your question, if you need free and reduced lunch, if you would qualify for free and reduced lunch, or if you're a BIPOC family, or there's different things where you get priority. If your parents work there or they're on the board, you're in. Yeah, yeah.
For clients who are living out of town who are moving in, you don't even have to be a resident in the city. You can apply prior to them moving here, because we were living in Wilmington in 2013. We applied to Evergreen and got in before we even moved here, and you would have thought that
So you don't have to have an address?
No.
Now some of them are adding that you need an Burnley. We had someone that we know was moving here and she didn't have an address, so they wouldn't let her apply. But some of them, Evergreen, you can still apply without it. So
It depends on person.
You're a resident of North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Actually, legally, you can be anywhere in North Carolina.
Oh,
Like
wow.
at FSI, we had people driving in from like, I think it was 8 different counties.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. You have to be in North Carolina.
So you have to apply by April? So is it?
You have to apply by in the spring, between January, they're all a little bit different. Some of them are by March 1st, March 15th, or April 1st, but it'll say on the thing.
Okay.
And then you start hearing from them. They have their drawings between mid-March and mid-April.
Okay.
And so once you hear from them, you get a number on the wait list. Now what happens, like it sounds horrible to be like, oh, I'm number 89. But you can actually still get in. Just here's how it works. Say one family actually gets accepted to 3, right? And they didn't really want to go to Fernley. They just took it because fine. But they got accepted to the 2 they really wanted to go to. So then their spot opens up. And say that happens with like 25 families, which it does. So then they open it up to people on the wait list, but everyone else on the wait list is like, oh, I already found a spot, I'm good. So as it gets closer to August, most people don't really know where their kids are going to go until like the first day of school. If they're trying to go to the school. I know. It's madness. So say it's August 15th, school is starting, you get email, oh, 3 people haven't showed up and let us know that they're actually not coming. Do you want your spot? We know you were 89. Now you're number 1. Oh, cool, I guess my kid's going here. So August is when everything actually shakes out, which is really stressful for some people. Especially if you want to buy a house next to where your kid's going to go to school. Like Fernley is in South Asheville. Our space is in East Asheville. Yeah.
Is there an acceptance deadline for families that get all?
Yeah. So the first 10 days of school is what determines how much funding you get from the state. You have to come during those days. If you don't come at the beginning, then you lose your spot. For FSI, it was like you had to accept by the 2nd or 3rd day of school. I know.
I was thinking more like a month or 2 before
Well,
school starts.
that would be nice. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. Destination right up.
Yeah. So we asked them to accept by July 1st, and we tell them they're going to lose their spot. But legally, you can't. I think you have to wait till they actually come or don't come.
So does that end up putting a lot of the public schools with that?
Oh yeah. So public schools have meetings all the time now about like we're losing our kids to charter what should we do, and there's that whole conversation. And then they think that they're meeting their quotas, and then the 10-day head count comes, and they're like, "What happened?" Oh my God. Yeah, it's interesting. And I think it's part of why Montfort North Star is closing and combining with it. Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely a changing landscape because of charters. And it's a changing landscape because parents also want a lot of choice in where their kids go. To think about your table conversation, I was walking around, a lot of you were like, I just went to the school of a bunch of, but that's where we went. It was a conversation, like, I wonder where he's gonna go to school. So that is changing in the world.
With all due respect, though, when I was growing up, Jamont was our governor, we were the education state.
Right.
And our public schools and our universities were the top in the nation.
Yeah.
And defunding public schools to funnel money into these private charters especially. And now using tax dollars to pay private school tuition is
Yeah.
just pull the rug out from under our public schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole different tab. Selfish question?
Yeah.
I have a child who's coming into preschool age. What public schools and charters offer that?
Yeah. So Mountain City Public has.
Or if you're getting for that.
Okay. We're gonna get to a preschool slide.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get to the
Okay,
preschool slide.
I'll wait.
See. Yeah. Some of these have preschools.
Okay.
They're not public though. So there's a bunch of private schools in the area. And to his point, there are now school vouchers from the state of North Carolina that people can use the money that each pupil would have gotten to go to public school starting in the 2024-2025 school year. Every family can get a school voucher. And you get a certain percentage of that money for your kid based on your income. So if you make a lot of money, you don't get all of the public school funding you would have gotten. So if you make $55K or less, you get 100% of what your kid would have gotten from the state to take to a different school. I forget exactly what it is.
So nice.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 10,000 in total. So yeah.
And we can look at, there's a whole breakdown of all of it. But let's talk about private schools real quick, independent schools. So there are a bunch of Montessori schools in the area. Most of them only go till 6 years old. Some of them go up through, Montessori Learning Community goes up through 6th grade, but there aren't any like full K-12 Montessori schools. A bunch of K-12 schools, like Carolina Day, which you probably would know. There are Christian schools that go from K through 12. Boarding schools. So this is a hub of kids that need boarding schools. So there's wilderness therapy. We'll get to that in a little bit. And there's boarding schools. A lot of families that are moving here probably won't send their kids to a boarding school in the area, like they're trying to get your kids further away. But there are a lot of them. Holistic schools, there's Rainbow Community School and Odyssey School were opened by the same person. So they look at like the spiritual aspects of the whole child. And so kiddie schools. And there are lots of outdoor schools like French Broad River Academy, which someone was asking about, which is separated boys and girls. Let me show you the school vouchers. This could be interesting for people moving to North Carolina because it's something Florida did it first and we kind of copied. It's called the Ed Choice Program. Lots to say on it, but so now you can, here we go. So the FRL is free and reduced lunch. If you would 100%, if you apply for 100% of free and reduced lunch, you can get 100% of the average state funding. A lot of your clients will probably be 450% of the $55,000 you would need to get free and reduced lunch. So you get 45% of that.
Is it 7,200?
Yep, there it is, 7,213. Thank you. So that doesn't cover tuition at like a Carolina Day by any means, but it does make a dent in it. Yeah, that is 3.5 months, but yeah.
What if somebody's in full-time online, do they get to, there's not a whole lot of expense involved in that, do they get to just pocket the money?
That's a great question. The North Carolina virtual schools we're talking about are totally free. They're public. So there are online programs, like kids that go to a lot of these therapeutic boarding schools, they also have to enroll these online programs simultaneously, and those are super expensive. Oftentimes they're covered in like a therapeutic school tuition, but if you're doing it from home and you're buying one of their curriculum, it just counts as, they're really expensive. You wouldn't think like, I know, it's crazy. You wouldn't think they'd be that much, but they're pretty expensive. And so it would cover $7,213 for that.
Does the voucher money go to the school they go to?
It goes, good question. I was thinking it goes to the school to cover the right.
Because her point basically saying like, if you ended up going to a school that was only 5,000, 7,000, what happens?
Yeah, or if you're homeschooled,
Right.
and you set up a homeschool.
Right.
I don't know, they're wonderful loopholes to look into, but. More questions than answers. All right, so preschools. Don't wait, let's before you get pregnant.
Before you get pregnant.
We have a ton of preschools. So the public school systems for Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County Schools have public preschools. I found out yesterday that the public preschools for Asheville City Schools just lost their actual physical school buildings and they're rushing to figure out what they're going to do about it.
Qualify too, like.
You do qualify for this. What are the great questions? I can probably look it up for you, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's 6 days, and I think you have to be in the county or in the city. And there's really limited spots for those as well.
Can I chime in on that?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same, but when we had ours in Asheville City preschool, it was tiered. And so if you made a certain income or above, as long as they had a spot for you, you were full tuition. You know, and then they had Head Start, so federally funded, so people paid nothing to go. And then there's like this North Carolina funded, like middle ground. So you got people that are just kind of teetering on the edge of being able to pay full tuition or not. North Carolina would cover 50 or 60%. You know,
Some love paperwork.
yeah. So that was 5-6 years ago. So
Yeah. I think it's similar now. Yeah. So a lot of these are actually going to, so there's a trend in the area. People are having a really hard time finding preschool teachers. So preschools are having a hard time staying open full time. A lot of these preschools are going to either certain days of the week or 8 to 12. So if you have people moving into town that do need preschools, like even if they don't know where they're going to live, even if they don't know when they're going to move here, just start
signing up for the wait list like as soon as possible, and then hopefully something will
But
open
I
up.
will say that the wait list thing is very similar to what you were saying about the public schools and the charter, is people are on all these wait lists.
Yes.
So when their spot frees up, they may have gotten it somewhere else, and so you can get it.
Yeah, it goes quickly sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially like with the at the change and a bunch of kids go to kindergarten, and then they start calling everyone, and everyone's like, "No, my kid, we're in years.
school."
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got school." So even though it seems daunting, just get on all of them and see what happens.
And tell your clients that they're on a list and they really want to go there, keep calling that place that they want to go.
Yeah. That's true. Sometimes they can forget.
Yeah, they forget about you.
Yep. And then there's nanny shares in town, there's care.com, there's all kinds of options beyond that. So, there are lots of ways to help. It does seem really overwhelming. Sometimes you're like, I gotta work. Like, I gotta move to the place and I gotta work. There are these cool outdoor preschools that are like forest schools where the kids are outside all the time, all year, no bad weather, just bad preparation. Like, they're always out there, and it's pretty awesome. The only one I've heard really negative things about is Child Care Network. They got in some trouble for not taking care of their kids, so that's the only one I would steer people away from. That's why I put it up there. The Spanish Academy is an immersion program for preschool in Fairview.
Yeah.
Just in case people have college-age kids when they're moving here, or they're like way looking ahead, or they want to continue their own education. We have all kinds of colleges, universities, and continuing ed, as you probably know. So I put them all up here. One cool thing that's going on too is the North Carolina Promise Program. So like Warren Wilson, Western, even UNCA now, they have really low tuition for local North Carolinians. So that's all exciting. You guys are all apparently in the know.
Is there a movement to, like, I know UNC Asheville, which is frustrating, require you to be on campus, even if you're local, like live on campus, even when you're.
To get the, I think to get the $500 like reduced rate, you have to live on campus.
Because
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I think they were saying, and this is just what I heard. Like, I could do more research, but I think they were seeing that during COVID, everyone started moving off campus for living with their families and commuting in, and so they were losing money. They couldn't fill up their dorms, so they'll lower your tuition, but you do have to live there.
You could do affordable housing in dorms.
Yeah, which we need. That's a great idea. I'm not the person talking about that, but yeah.
This is what I learned somewhere, and I guess it's true. The state of North Carolina values education so much that there is a community college, a college, or a university within 25 minutes of every resident in the state.
Wow.
And also in the charter of North Carolina, it says something about least keeping your tuition at the least possible. It's part of the charter of the state.
Nice.
So they do care.
Yeah. At least for higher ed. But yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So some key takeaways from this section, I hope, is that as people are moving here, as they're looking at what part of town, it's not the traditional, you live here, your kids go to school here. And it can be like, that would be awesome. We like your local school, they get on the bus, you don't have to drive them somewhere, they know their friends, and they move up, and they're all like, going to the same schools as all their friends throughout the whole journey of K through 12. But there are lots of different options in there. And it might seem overwhelming because there are so many options, but as you dig around, it's pretty easy to find stuff online. If you ever want to ask me about anything, feel free. I'll give you my card. I can really help you navigate that. It's a fun time. And we have more. We're not done. That's just that section. Just so you know.
But as agents, opinions about schools are subjective.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Based on personal experience or what you've heard. As agents, we have to stay objective. Point them towards resources. So the resources that you would recommend that we steer them towards.
Yeah, the ratings, like what is the right rating?
Totally. So one's a little hard because I think a lot of the rating systems are a little subjective as well because they're based a lot on standardized tests. And this is just like a whole other TED talk, but so ratings are based on people's reviews, but also standardized tests, and they're based on which of the teachers are certified in different things. So they have chosen what to look at and what to highlight. In my opinion, like the best way to really get to know the educational landscape, like if I was moving to a new place, you can go to Asheville City Schools website, you can go to Buncombe County Schools website, but they all do tours. Like every school does a tour, and you can see the rigor of the school, and you can see the kind of outputs of the school from Ed Week's ratings or whatever ratings you want to go to. But the inputs are a really important part. How much joy is there in school? Like, I think we go outside, but the teachers like fish, like all those things. So, like, if possible, suggesting that they go on tours and get like some kind of boots on the ground is such an important decision. And every single school does a tour. Yeah.
Sorry, our application rates, is that like public data? Like how many applications to a school per year?
Good question. I haven't seen, like, charter schools with their public entities, they're run by the state. They have to have that as public knowledge. I just wouldn't know where to find that. Like even having been a public school principal at a charter school. Yeah, they must be. I'll dig around. Yeah, because that's interesting. Like, are thousands of people applying and I'm number 89, or did 92 people apply and I'm number 89? Yeah.
I would say a big question too, like I didn't really think about until like I had a person going to school is how long recess is. Like 8 years recess is 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the schools we looked at.
Also lunches are really short too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Glen Arden's 20 minutes recess and 20 minutes lunch, but lunch is inside. Yeah, that's Public City Montessori has like a half hour in the morning and like an hour in the afternoon outside and like do stuff with Montessori. But I was like, oh, this one. And some of these schools are like outside all the time. Like Fernleaf, they have an agreement with Fletcher Park across the street. They get this whole watershed where they're growing all kinds of plants and there's tadpoles and their science classes are outside. So that is an important question.
Art space, even in junior high, had 2 recesses.
So
yes, those are good.
You need it, especially in junior high.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, really. Great. So that's all about the landscape. Now this is more like family focused, student focused, kid focused. You might have people that come to you and they know that their kids need some extra testing. Like their kid might have dyslexia, their kid might need to get tested for ADHD. They just want to make sure they can get an IEP, which is individualized education plan, or a 504, which is more focused on behavior modifications for the schools. There are a bunch of testing facilities in Asheville, so they can get all of that done here when they get here, if they don't have that paperwork already set up. There are a bunch of specialized schools for kids, like Black Mountain Academy, for example, is for kids with on the autism spectrum disorder that have ASD on the spectrum. And a lot of charter schools have a specific response to a higher number of kids with special needs. For example, like FSI, most public schools have between 13 and 15% of their kids have an IEP or a 504, which means they have special needs in some way that the teacher has to accommodate for. For many reasons, FSI had about 30 to 35% of their students with IEPs and 504s. So they had to hire more people in those departments to take care of those kids. So if you have a client who has special needs, there's all kinds of schools here that are catered to their needs, and there's testing and there's all kinds of government services. Those therapeutic boarding schools I talked about, a lot of them are for kids with special needs. Like Lake House Academy is just for girls. It's just for girls that have certain mental health disorders. Black Mountain Academy is for any kids with autism spectrum disorder. Timber Song is for different mental health issues. It used to be called Mumford Hall, but it changed hands, and I don't know the name of it now. It's for boys that struggle with addiction issues from 8th to 12th grade. So they have special therapeutic boarding schools. Also, there are a lot of outdoor wilderness therapy programs here. It's a hub in the whole country here in Utah for kids that need some time in the woods, 3 to 6 months. And so McKenna Outward Bound is over by Warren Wilson. And then those programs feed into these therapeutic boarding schools. So, clients are like, yeah, my kid needs this, and this testing, this, and this kind of school. They are here. They exist here. So here's where I'd love to open it up to you guys. We're going to table talk again. gonna give you a little scenario of a family that's coming in, and you're just gonna talk through not just like, as we said, you're not gonna tell them what to do. This is a very personalized, family-based kind of conversation. You're gonna think of the big questions that you're gonna help them excavate, because it's not about the answers, it's really about the questions. So, little participation. You have a family, they have 3 kids. They have a kid that's gonna go into kindergarten next year. They have a kid that's gonna go into 4th grade and a kid that's gonna go into 7th grade. And they love all parts of Asheville. They're not really sure which part they want to live in. They don't want to be like right downtown. So they don't think they're going to do like the Asheville City Schools thing. At your table, turn and talk with 1 or 2 partners. Where are you going to start with them to try to figure out what questions to ask? Like what questions they should be asking, what Google searches they should do. Where are you going to dig in with them? Kindergarten, going to kindergarten, 4th and 7th. All right, 3 minutes. What are the questions that are going to come up?
Very similar to but
Thank you for being great participants. What are some questions coming up that you would like to surface and excavate and just put out front and center with our clients here?
Financial
Ooh, financial
Consideration.
considerations. Yes, great.
interest, the children.
So I heard that at almost every table. Good job centering the students. Yes. What are your kids into? What do they like? What kind of school would be good for them? Great. Anything else to think about?
It's private, is it religious based or not?
Great.
You know,
Yeah, maybe money's not the.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what she said.
Is it religious? Like, if you want to go
Oh.
private, are you okay at a religious-based school? Yeah. And
Do they all need to be in the same location?
Yeah.
these go together, transportation, and if so, wouldn't it be really helpful to have them at the same place? Like, yeah.
That's what we talked about. Like some people, like Alan was giving a personal example. He loves sending his kids to the same place, but there's plenty of times where there's one who's really thriving in Valley Springs, and the sister is not. And we're gonna pull the sister out, but the brother's gonna be right there. Now where are we gonna send the sister? So it's just a case by case basis.
Yeah, we're gonna spend 3 hours a day in the car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Great.
One of my partners here at the table mentioned a Waldorf school that wasn't
Yeah.
taught there.
So the Waldorf school that, I used to work at a Waldorf school for about 4 months. And I was like, I need to for kids, so I went to Irwin. But that was closed. It was in West Asheville. The other Waldorf school that was in East Asheville, I think, is not, I don't think they have the building anymore. So I didn't put up that, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, they have some different buildings depending on the age group. I think a lot of them are right on Hendersonville Road. Cool. If they're younger, then the older kids are somewhere else.
Did you kids go to Waldorf?
I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, Waldorf's an interesting model if y'all don't know about it. It's similar to Montessori in some ways. It's like very exploratory and nature-based and spiritual, and it's a lovely model.
I really, really liked your recommendation that we say to our clients, take a tour, go visit the school, get a few that you like and go see them. You can learn a lot just from walking through the hallways and looking at the work
Yes.
that they have on the walls for each grade level.
Yep.
I remember when one of my children was redistricted, and the school that he was put into, I walked through the hallway and I looked at and I said, this school is at least 6 months behind the school he's in, just from looking at the work that was on the walls.
Yeah.
I mean, just visiting, touring, we can always say tour, visit.
Yes. Yeah, and you could even bring someone could come with them and like they could debrief on it and they could bring up things like that. I love that. I think too, some of the data that you can pull from reports, more of a postmortem, how did kids do last year? So it's not in the moment, it's not what's actually going on at the street level. So getting in there and talking to people is awesome. Yeah.
is greatschools.com just based on test scores, do you know, or is it also?
There's a lot, well, there's a lot on there. It's not just test scores, but it's mostly postmortem stuff. So it's like attendance data, disciplinary data, feedback from families, but a lot of that's how they're doing last year, from how it feels right now. And things are
It's a good
changing.
place to start, but then go.
Yes, exactly. I think that's a great foundation. Okay, these three all look pretty similar on these websites. Let's go feel how it, let's go see what it feels like.
Are you gonna be giving some recommendations of sites like that, but then also like asterisk, like when you tell someone this is a good site to visit, but keep X in mind.
I totally can. I'll give you my card, email me, I'll put my cards up here. I can send you, I think like a flow chart might be awesome.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yes.
That leads into my question, which was, are there some consultants out there so that I have a family who is seeking to navigate this, but is not wanting to spend, 6 weeks
Yes.
doing nothing but trying to navigate it on their own?
Yes. So big cities generally have what's called school consultants. So like if you're moving to New York, first thing you do is hire a school consultant.
Exactly.
I can work as a school consultant. I can help families. There are not a lot of them here. Like looking around, as I want to go into being more of a school consultant. I don't see a lot for Asheville, but I think because it's changing so much, it's so dynamic, I think we'll start to see more people like me that are like, I'll help you. Yeah, just call me. Yeah.
We'll keep you busy.
That's great. Keep me busy. Yes.
I would say, as far as the virtual, the actual virtual academy, couple of things. If the kiddos are not self-driven or like not reading on their own, you are involved in every
You're
single
homeschooling them.
part of the activity.
Yes.
And so that's super frustrating. I think they're also in between changing like software sometimes. Like they'll try one out one year and then try a different one out. And sometimes it's like the education part that we were learning was great, but that's like the quizzes was, do you feel like you understood this on a scale from 1 to 5? You know, like
it's kind of feedback.
no kids are gonna be like, I didn't, you know, or like, you know, they're not, there was no like engagement for quizzes to get a gauge of like if they understood something or not, for physics or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was really hard, and because it's such a cool idea to be like, oh, I can travel, or there's like flexibility as long as
We're digital nomads with our kids.
but it's
It's
hands-on.
not a great system yet. One other thing too, families that we've seen that signed up for virtual schools, there's a lot of kids that like are really shy and they have anxiety and they didn't really like being in public schools, but their anxiety all got worse from being in a virtual space. Now obviously like sometimes just want to try it and see if that's the best thing for their kid. Great. But knowing that that's not usually the answer for kids, that it actually does exacerbate a lot of those anxiety issues.
And then they get upset if you leave, you know what I mean, because they are trying to get funding. You know what I mean? There's like
You're one of those members
spots. Yeah, it's not large class sizes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you don't understand matter more. So
Yeah.
And of course, we should mention that the North Carolina Department of Education has their school information is published online.
Oh yeah, it's all open to the
Every
public.
school.
And all the charter schools too. I just need to find the application information. Questions?
I'm going to put my email address up here and I have some cards, but keep the questions coming if you want.
How homeschool friendly would you say?
Very, very homeschool friendly. We have like pods that, stop share. We have these, ooh, there's me. There's these pods. So like homeschools, they have a hard time doing things like PE and arts and like theater. So you go to these collectives, you all meet, you all do theater, PE, and art together. Like there's so many, and there's micro schools in Buncombe County and Asheville too, which are like 5 kids and 1 teacher. So there's all kinds of like, the unschooling movement is strong here, as you may have assumed.
But as far as the requirements that the local boards have for the parents to submit documentation to do that.
So that is the same all across the state. It's a state documentation, and you're supposed to give assessments, and you're supposed to have an anchoring text, and you're supposed to have a curriculum. and you send it in, and you get approved, but there's not as much oversight as one would think and hope. So you can email me at this really long email address. And we will do this. Sarah Jean Smith. Let's do 30. And I would love to help people. I know it's a bit confusing, but I also know that like if you're just really human-centered with it and you really listen, one thing I've envisioned myself doing that I'd really like to do too is if kids are older than 5th grade, sitting down with the kids without the parents wandering around and asking them, like, I think the person that gets most left out of these conversations sometimes is the kid. Sure. Yeah. And like maybe not in 5th grade, like our 4.5-year-old will have a lot to say about it. So, you know, giving the kid a little bit away from the parent, or just like giving him a platform to say like, you know, I really don't, you know, high schoolers, for example, a lot of them like, I really don't care about football. Like, I really don't care about all the crazy things. I just want to go somewhere where that's a good theater program. And their parents are like, really? Oh, okay. So asking the kid, I think is great. And then just having those conversations in a way that helps them figure out what questions to ask. It's great. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.